Yes, Honorable First Member for La Caverne, Felix.
492, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, with your permission, I shall answer this question in the absence of the substantive minister.
Thank you.
In reply to PQB 304 on 8 April 2025, the substantive minister informed the House that Maurice Stratégie employed 28 officers since its creation. Following the departure of 2 officers on 25th April and 2nd of May, Mauritius Stratégie now currently employs 26 employees. As regards Part A of the question, the total monthly expenditure incurred on the salaries and other benefits to the employees for the month of April 2025 stood at $576,314. It is to be noted, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, that Maurice Stratégie has not hired the services of any consultant. With regard to Part B of the question, I am informed by Maurice Stratégie that the Executive Director holds a BSc honor in Economics and Finance from the University of Mauritius and a MSc Economics and Development Economics from the University of Nottingham in England. The Executive Director has been appointed on a contractual basis for a period of 3 years with effect from 9 September 2024. He earns a monthly salary of 312,000 rupees and draws the following benefits: A, car allowance of 20,000, traveling allowance of 20,000, and mobile phone allowance of 2,000.
Supplementary.
Yeah. Can the Honourable Minister inform this House with regard to this Executive Director and Maurice Stratégie? Is it still a feasible strategy to have Maurice Stratégie, in as much as it should have been an independent think tank for government, in as much as no such report or documents have been produced and we are not aware of what they have been doing for all these months?
As regards the first part of the question, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, you would appreciate that I'm not the substantive minister, and it is for the substantive minister to decide whether this Maurice Stratégie has still a raison d'être. With regard to the second part of the question, I am informed that Maurice Stratégie has submitted 17 reports and research papers since its creation.
Okay, thank you. The Honorable Second Member for Flag-Bolacay.
Yes, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. B493, s'il vous plaît.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I wish to present a clear explanation of the recent recruitment activities within the local authorities, highlighting the serious mismanagement and malpractice performed by the former chairperson of the Local Government Service Commission, that is the LGSC, and the previous regime. Deputy Speaker, sir, in response to Part 1 of the question, between 1st January and 3rd October 2024, a total of 1,765 appointments were effected within local authorities. Out of these 1,765 appointments, it is shocking and surprising to note that 599 posts, mainly of refuse collectors, handy workers, and general workers, which were created without budgetary provision, resulting in an expenditure of approximately 10 million rupees monthly. Furthermore, it is scandalous that out of the 1,765 appointments effected last year, 998 appointments were made during the period between 3rd of September and 3rd of October 2024, barely a month before the general election. This figure represents 56.5% of the total appointments, and this is viewed as a serious concern. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, it is also important to highlight that out of the 1,765 appointments made, 1,731 were authorized solely by the former chairperson of the LGSC, thus entirely bypassing the statutory requirement for collective decision-making by the full Commission. This unilateral action is a flagrant breach of the Local Government Service Commission Regulation 1984 and represents a gross abuse of authority. On 10 December 2024, the LGSC sought legal advice from the Attorney General's Office to determine whether the appointments made by the former chairperson were legally in order. The Attorney General's Office replied that all appointments and/or promotions effected unilaterally by the chairperson are legally tainted with nullity. Disturbingly, no legal advice was sought until December 2024, despite these irregular practices having started as far back as January 2022. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, despite this, the Local Government Service Commission could not act earlier due to the absence of a fully constituted board. It is to be noted that the Commission was reconstituted only on 28 March 2025. I am apprised that out of the 1,765 appointments, the Attorney General's Office recommended that the employment of 1,368 candidates who are employed on a day-to-day basis and 95 candidates who are employed on a month-to-month basis should be terminated. However, the decision to act upon this advice regarding these unlawful appointments rests solely with the Local Government Service Commissions, that is the LGSC, which is an independent and autonomous body. Additionally, the malpractices of the former chairperson have been formally reported to the Financial Crime Commission, that is the FCC, and the FCC is now assessing the broader implication and institutional breaches of this mass recruitment exercise. We are awaiting the report of the FCC, which will guide further administrative and legal actions. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, to be honest, it is ordinary citizens who are paying the price for the irresponsibility of the previous regime. Resources meant for essential services such as waste collection, street lighting, and community services were diverted to fund politically motivated and unlawful appointments. This government will not tolerate such abuses. We are committed to restoring integrity and accountability in all recruitment processes. Thank you.
Okay. B494, Honorable Dr. Mrs. Talu is not in the House, so I take it there will be a written answer for that question, since the question has not been withdrawn. So now I call B495. Honorable.
Please, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, B495.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I'm informed that the region of Boulodrome Black River has been declared as a high-risk flood-prone area by the Land Drainage Authority. The LDA has recommended that the project flood mitigating measures at Boulodrome Black River be implemented by the Drain Infrastructure Construction Limited at Bois d'Oiseau and Avenue Boulodrome with a view to mitigating flooding in that region. The detailed design has already been finalized and approved by the LDA. Mr. Deputy Speaker, the project is estimated to cost some 232 million, and I'm informed by the DICL that the draft bidding document for the construction works has already been prepared and same would be launched once funding is made available. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, the project is expected to start during the course of the next financial year, subject to availability of funds.
Okay, the next question, the honorable second member for Belle Rose Carbone.
B 496, merci.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I have been made aware of the deplorable state of the Beauséjour Community Center. I wish to thank the honourable member for the pictures forwarded to me on same. I am informed that procedures for renovation works at the Beauséjour Community Center have been initiated by the Sugar Industry Labour Welfare Fund. The works inter alia comprise replacement of tiles in the hall and kitchen. Cabinets have also been fixed in the kitchen. I'm apprised by the Sugar Industry Labour Welfare Fund that lights have been installed in the shelter found in the yard of the community center. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that most infrastructures falling under the purview of the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family Welfare, be it community centers, social welfare centers, or women empowerment centers, have remained idle since the last 10 years, depriving the community of these facilities. I am glad to inform the House that these infrastructures are being made operational since this government took office. The Canlabou Women Empowerment Center is now operational since 8 March this year. Furthermore, the Richelieu Women's Empowerment Center is in operation since 22nd March 2025. The reopening of the Triolet Women Empowerment Center is being envisaged. Other infrastructures falling under the purview of the ministry will be made operational subject to the availability of funds.
Yes,
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Vice-président. Je remercie également, au nom des habitants de Beauséjour, de résidence Beauséjour, je tiens à exprimer ma gratitude à la ministre pour cette rénovation. La ministre pourrait-elle indiquer à la Chambre si cette rénovation implique la fermeture complète du centre et si oui, si son ministère prévoit des solutions alternatives pour garder les habitants en activité. Merci.
Monsieur le Deputy Speaker, à ce stade, ces informations ne sont pas disponibles.
The honorable third member for Rivière-des-Anguilles, Suivant.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. B497.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, chronic kidney disease is a significant health burden affecting around 200,000 Mauritian patients. Presently, there are around 1,550 patients on dialysis, comprising around 1,500 patients in Mauritius and 50 patients in Rodrigue. Among these dialysis patients, those who are clinically eligible and who have donors are given access to renal transplantation, which not only results in better quality of life, but also ensures cost savings over the long run. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that after an 8-month gap, with a number of issues pertaining to functioning of equipment and availability of consumables, my ministry has restarted the renal transplant program and 2 patients were operated in April 2025 by a team of surgeons from Mauritius Hospital, Chennai. My ministry has also simultaneously established a number of partnerships with renal transplant surgeons comprising the Mauritian diaspora experts and non-Mauritians working in United Kingdom and India to impart the necessary training to our health professionals, as well as conduct renal transplant cases in Mauritius. These include Professor Nizam Mahmood, who has previously been assisting the renal transplant program, and Professor Derek Manes, amongst others. My ministry is now arranging for a different team to come to Mauritius every 4 to 8 weeks to carry out 3 to 4 transplant cases over a period of 1 week. The forthcoming team, which is expected from Mauritius Hospital, Chennai, in June 2025, will carry out 3 cases of renal transplantation. With regard to Part B of the question, I am informed that for urgent cases of renal transplant, protocols are in place at hospital level for the workup of patients and donor. The procedures involve urine and blood testing as well as radiological and cardiac investigations prior to the surgical interventions. In addition, the renal transplant immunology laboratory at Victoria Hospital, with the assistance of a team from Guy's Hospital, United Kingdom, has been upgraded to the latest standards. The nuclear medicine department is now also fully functional to carry out advanced renal function tests on the donor. I'm further informed that for non-urgent cases, kidney transplant surgery from living donors is an elective procedure and needs full evaluation of both the donor and the recipient. Moreover, full workup and follow-up of donors and recipients are done by medical and nursing staff of my ministry through Central Health Laboratory, nephrology units, dialysis units. Therefore, patients are listed in order of priority for the next visiting foreign team to carry out the renal transplantation.
Yes,
Are there any campaigns being carried out by the ministry to raise public awareness and with a view to boosting organ registration, donation?
Well, the NCD, the National, the Non-Communicable Diseases Department has undertaken the work, and we are doing it.
With regard to B498 and B499, in view of the absence of Honorable Tanu, I take it the Honorable Ministers will circulate as written answer. So now we go to B500. Honorable Kiran.
B500.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, with regard to part A of the question, I'm informed that all prostate cancer patients in Mauritius are referred to the new cancer center for treatment. The number of patients with prostate cancer registered in the Department of Oncology at the new cancer center from 2020 to date is 714. I'm further informed that there are currently 12 medical oncologists and 1 hematological oncologist, that is doctor who deal with blood cancers, for example, leukemia, posted as a new cancer center. The latter also attends regional hospitals to conduct follow-up on patients who have completed their treatment on blood cancers. I'm also informed that there are around 10 experienced and trained general surgeons with urology skills posted in all regional hospitals and new cancer center for the surgical management of prostate cancer. Concerning part B of the question, as all other non-communicable diseases, the burden of cancer and particularly prostate cancer have increased over the years. The mortality to incidence ratio of prostate cancers have decreased over time, indicating that less patients are dying of the disease compared to the new cases being diagnosed. This is due to a better cancer care management, including early diagnosis and fast and modern therapeutic services. Accordingly, for the period 2000 and 2024, 1,731 deaths have been registered in relation to prostate cancer. I wish to inform the House that yesterday I met a group of oncological surgeons from Max Super Hospital, and I will also be receiving a group of surgeons from Birla Hospital on Thursday morning regarding their willingness to assist in oncology surgery training and bilateral collaboration between India and Mauritius, as well as in the proposed setting up of a urology department in Jawaharlal Nehru Hospital. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that my ministry will leave no stone unturned in our fight against prostate cancer. My ministry has implemented targeted health sensitization campaign to address modifiable risk factors for prostate cancer, focusing on diet, smoking, obesity, and physical activity. In addition, public education initiatives are also being held with a view to promoting a balanced diet rich in fruits and vegetables while discouraging excessive consumption of red and processed meats. Furthermore, community-based programs are also ongoing to encourage regular physical activity through wellness clubs and local fitness initiatives, and to combat obesity through nutritional counseling in primary health centers and routine body mass index monitoring.
Yes.
Peut-on savoir quels sont les traitements actuellement qui sont recommandés par rapport, concernant les patients qui sont atteints d'un cancer de la prostate dans les hôpitaux et aussi dans les hôpitaux régionaux et aussi au New Cancer Center?
I just mentioned, normally whenever we get such cases, we recommend patients to the New Cancer Center. And I can assure the honorable member that we are trying to bring in additional equipments in order to serve those patients. And the regional hospitals are also looking after prostate cancer, but cancer which has arrived at an advanced stage, these are looked into at the National Cancer Center.
Monsieur le Président, une autre question. Vu le nombre croissant de cas détectés de cancer de la prostate à un stade avancé, le ministre ne pense-t-il pas, il en a parlé dans sa réponse de campagne de communication, mais ce que je veux dire, moi, ce sont des campagnes à intervalles réguliers pour sensibiliser, conscientiser, principalement les hommes à partir de la tranche d'âge de 45 à 50 ans, à effectuer le test PSA. Beaucoup ne sont pas au courant, beaucoup ne savent pas qu'il faut, à partir d'un certain âge, effectuer le test PSA pour savoir si on est atteint ou quel est le degré de cancer de la prostate.
That is the reason why we have given a new turning to the NCD, the non-communicable disease unit, which has undertaken that work. I know it's not an easy job, but we have started it already, and can assure the honourable member that we are going to expand our activity to sensitize the entire population on the danger of having such a disease.
Next question. You have been answered. The question has been answered. The third honourable member for Rivière-des-Orgues.
Thank you. B501. Thank you.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, first let me thank the honourable member for this timely question. I am informed that no audit exercise has been conducted to ascertain compliance by companies to have at least 3% of their workforce with persons with disabilities as provided under Section 13 of the Training and Employment of Disabled Persons Act 1996, amended 2012, for the last 10 years. The Training and Employment of Disabled Persons Board, which is the parastatal body operating under the purview of my ministry, has for main objectives to provide training and ensure the employment of persons with disabilities. According to records available, there are only 527 persons with disabilities who are registered with the board, looking for an employment or training. Moreover, only a few companies, that is 900, are registered with the board. Moreover, the Housing and Population Census conducted by Statistics Mauritius in 2022 revealed that only 6,009 persons with disabilities were currently part of the workforce. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I have been informed that the Protection and Promotion of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act, which was passed last year in the National Assembly, proposes a new modified employment quota system. However, I would like to inform the House that I have received numerous representations concerning certain provisions of the Act, including provision on employment. In this context, after advice of the Attorney General Office, my ministry has chosen to proceed with some amendments of the legislation, including on the employment of persons with disabilities before promulgation of the law. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, in parallel, my ministry is also seeking to undertake a comprehensive disability pensions and benefits reforms to align with the international standard in order to shift from a purely medical model to a more social model approach to disability. This includes the restructuring of the current disability assessment panel so that disability evaluation account for both functional limitations and social barriers. With this new reform, there will be a multi-purpose one-stop assessment. As part of this broader reform, my ministry is also working on integrating the aspect of employability into the assessment process of persons with disabilities. Consideration will be given to empowering persons with disability to pursue a better quality of life through meaningful employment. Furthermore, my ministry is also envisaging to carry out matching exercise to ensure that skills and potential of the person with disabilities are aligned with suitable opportunities in the labour market and to partly subsidize their employment. As a result, employers will be expected to actively recruit and include persons with disabilities in their workforce, and failure to do so may entail heavy penalties. This qualitative change measure also takes into consideration the relative scarcity of labor in Mauritius. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I would like to underline that the above-mentioned reforms are being envisaged in the budget proposal to 2025-2026. Thank you.
Yes.
The Honorable Minister considering an audit exercise to ascertain compliance or non-compliance by companies?
Because of the reform, we will proceed with the reform and then seek and evaluate compliance to the new legal framework.
Yes, the first member for Montagne Blanche and Grande Rivière.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Sir, B502.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I wish to provide the House with the following details information regarding the mini-market, mini-traffic center at Belle. The project comprises the construction of a modern mini-traffic center equipped with the following facilities. A passenger terminal with waiting areas, ticketing booths, and washroom. 5 covered and linked bus stations, bus platforms, parking bays for bus and taxi, pedestrian access routes, and assorted infrastructure including lighting, signage, drainage system, landscaping, and a secure perimeter fencing, and CCTV monitoring camera. The project was awarded to Keep Clean Limited for a total contract value of 68 million rupees, including of VAT, after an open national bidding exercise concluded in November 2024. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, concerning Part B of the question, the site was handed over to the contractor on 9 April 2025, and the construction works started on 24 April 2025. The contractual duration is 360 days, with the expected completion date being 19 April 2026. A 365-day defect liability period will follow project completion. The works are being supervised by a technical team from the Ministry of National Infrastructure. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, concerning Part C of the question, the mini-traffic center is designed to support the following bus routes through its 5 designated bus stations. Belle Flag to Saj Hospital, Belle Central Flag to Port Louis, Belle Maber, Belle Couch-Militaire to Rosehill, Belle to Cupid. Thank you.
Can the Honourable Minister see that Trou-de-Douce is probably on the outskirts and no transport is found there in relation to the bus route?
This project has been for 5 bus stations. So for this additional one, we can liaise with the Minister of Land and Transport.
Thank you. The Honourable Said Member for Bobassa, Chitrikia.
503.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, as I stated during my intervention on the government program on 28 February 2025, the inter-college sports competition, more commonly known as Jeux inter-college, were more than just a sport competition. They serve as a platform for discovering young talents, fostering camaraderie, and instilling a deep sense of pride and belonging among our youth. Therefore, the revival of the inter-college sport competition is high on the agenda of my ministry. Mr. Deputy Speaker, with regard to Part A of the question, I wish to inform the House that the preliminary of the Jeux inter-college for the 7 regions, namely Port Louis, Bobassa-Rosehill, Belle-Rose, Quatre-Bonnes, Vaqua-Phoenix, Black River, Cupip, Grand Port-Savane, Moka-Flac, and Pamplemousse, Rivière du Rapport, have successfully started on the 6th May 2025 and will run until 17 June 2025. The finals are scheduled from 14 to 18 July 2025. I am informed that some 160 secondary schools, including state, private, and fee-paying schools, have registered for the Jeux Intercollèges. Some 8,500 students are involved in both individual and team competition. Officials of National Sport Federation and coaches of my ministry are providing technical assistance for the smooth running of the Jeux Intercollèges. Mr. Deputy Speaker, with regard to part B of the question, I am informed that the 2025 edition of the Jeux Intercollèges will include the following sport disciplines: football, volleyball, badminton, table tennis, and athletics. Mr. Speaker, Deputy Speaker, the preliminaries are being held at various venues including stadium, sport complexes, and secondary schools. Subsequently, the final for the football and athletics will be held at the Côte d'Or National Sport Complex, while the finals for badminton, tennis, table tennis, and volleyball will be held at the National Badminton Center, the National Table Tennis Center, and the Pandit Sahadeo Gymnasium, respectively. Mr. Deputy Speaker, as regards part C of the question, for this year's edition, participation is open to both boys and girls in different age groups, ranging from 14 to 20, and this age group will be reviewed to include, if needed, younger categories in more sport disciplines as from next year. Each participant is allowed to participate in 2 sport disciplines of the competition, including 1 individual and 1 team, in the order of encourage more students to participate. For athletics, the first 3 athletes per event, per category, and per region will qualify for the finals, as opposed to only 2 in the previous edition, thereby increasing opportunities for more students to represent their college in the final. Athletes from Rodrigue will also be invited to participate in the athletics final, following their own preliminaries. For badminton and table tennis, the first 2 participants per category, per region, are qualified for the finals. For football and volleyball, the winning team per category, per region, is qualified for the final. An overall champion of Jeux Intercollèges will be declared based on the cumulative points obtained by each college in the 5 sport disciplines during the finals. I wish to highlight that this formula has been introduced after consultation with all stakeholders.
Monsieur le Vice-président, l'honorable ministre peut-il expliquer à la Chambre, et je me base sur une lettre qui a été adressée par le président de l'M3SA au Premier ministre lui-même, pourquoi en effet l'M3SA, comme le certifie la lettre, n'a pas été impliqué comme il se doit dans l'organisation de ces compétitions, se voyant même, comme je viens de le dire, obligé d'envoyer une lettre au Premier ministre exprimant leur mécontentement pour dénoncer la façon d'agir du ministère des Sports, hein, c'est la lettre qui le dit, je n'invente rien, et celui de l'éducation. Peut-on savoir pourquoi?
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, as I stated in my reply, given that the board of the National Council for Sports in schools and universities was not yet constituted, my ministry provided technical support toward the organization of the competition. At a press conference on the 8th January 2025, whereat the Mauritius Secondary School Sports Association was present. Furthermore, I'm informed that representatives of the Mauritius Secondary School Sport Association were present during meeting held on 15 January and 27 January 2025 at the seat of my ministry. Mr. Deputy Speaker, at the request of the Mauritius Secondary School Sports Association, I have met with their representative, including the President, on the 5th May 2025. We have agreed that the Mauritius Secondary School Sport Association will collaborate with the National Council for Sport in school and universities.
Je vais quand même, pour les besoins de la question,
No, but this
déposer...
letter was addressed to the Prime Minister. I can't see how you get a copy of it and why
Oh,
you should handle
Mr.
it.
Vice President,
But
please.
it is a letter between the MSSA and the Prime Minister. It's
You are
between these two
yourself
parties.
a...
No, but
You
it
are
is a letter-
yourself a
Yeah, this is
politician.
why I'm
and you
saying,
know,
because I'm
you
a
know
lawyer.
well.
This letter is
So,
addressed personally to the
I
Prime
find this
Minister.
very
It's a
improper
personal
from your-
letter to the Prime Minister.
Yeah. Anyway,
That's the letter.
anyway, l'autre question que...
You have another question, yes.
Voilà. Donc, j'ai bien compris la réponse de l'honorable ministre. Il a parlé de certaines catégories, mais il y a une catégorie que les PE teachers considèrent qui aurait dû être aussi faire partie de ces jeux, c'est la catégorie U14, c'est-à-dire les enfants, les jeunes de 12 et 13 ans. Et peut-on savoir pourquoi cette catégorie n'a pas été inclue dans ces jeux?
I mentioned in my reply, Deputy Speaker, that next year we are going to see how we are going to include those who are not included now. We have all consulted with the stakeholders, and the answer is very clear.
Okay, the next question, the Honourable Side Member for Rivière-des-Anguiennes, Suya.
Yes, thank you. B504.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, we are all fully aware of the potential danger and threat targeting our children with regard to online exploitation, harm, and abuse. Protection of children is my primary concern, and hence I have given instructions that this matter be dealt with at most seriousness at the level of my ministry. I wish to inform the House that there had been quite a number of cases which have been referred to my ministry and to me personally. Subsequently, relevant files have been compiled for follow-up, among which a full-fledged document on a case of sharing of indecent photos and videos of women and girls on an application called Telegram. These cases have been referred for in-depth investigations to the police, with whom my ministry works in close collaboration to tackle cases of abuse against children of the Republic. I wish to point out that on Thursday, 10th April 2025, my colleagues, the Minister of Information Technology, Communication and Innovation, Minister of Tertiary Education, Science and Research, Minister of Education and Human Resource, and myself launched a draft report for public consultations. The report focuses on enhancing children's online safety in the social media era, with a view to improving the protection of children and young people in the digital space. Parents, educators, young people, NGOs, and civil society were invited to participate in the consultation process and share their input and recommendations. Mr. Deputy Speaker, as regard to Part A of the question, as Minister of Gender Equality and Family Welfare, I am well aware of the negative impact of the digital environment on families. In order to address this situation, my ministry is currently finalizing a national policy paper on the family in which there is a component on ICT use. I also wish to inform the House that, with a view to raising understanding on the underlying threats and consequences of the misuse of social media, and to empower families on the negative impact of the digital environment, my ministry, in collaboration with the Cybercrime Unit, the Central Criminal Investigation Department, and the Trafficking in Person of the Mauritius Police Force, will be conducting a 2-day workshop on the 5th and 6th of June 2025, where the main focus will be on teenagers, cybercrime, and family well-being. It is also envisaged to carry out ongoing campaigns on adolescence and cybercrime at community level. Mr. Deputy Speaker, with regard to Part B of the question, my ministry has in place a hotline, 113, which is operational to provide 24-hour free services for the report of any form of violence against children. Alternatively, I am also informed that there is a dedicated online reporting system in place for the report of online abuses called MOCORS Plus, Mauritius Cybercrime Online Reporting System, which is under the purview of the Ministry of IT, Communication and Innovation. The system is managed by the CERDMU, Computer Emergency Response Team. It is a centralized system which connects the CERDMU, the Cybercrime Unit of the Mauritius Police Force, the Data Protection Office, and the Information and Communication Technologies Authority, ICTA. I believe that online threats and dangers facing children are not only a national issue, but also an international one. This requires a multi-pronged approach and the possibility of amending and strengthening relevant legislation is being explored. In this respect, I will invite, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I will invite honourable members to submit any suggestion that will further reinforce the protection of our children online. Thank you.
The next question, the Honourable Third Member for Grand-Bay Pouloulo.
505, please. Thank you.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I am informed by the Information and Communication Technologies Authority that since January 2023, 10 complaints have been received with respect to base stations of mobile operators, including 5 pertaining specifically to health issues. In order to provide a good quality of service, base stations, which constitute the infrastructure that actually enables mobile phones to connect wirelessly to the networks, need to be placed where people live, that is, in the vicinity of houses. So antennas of base stations are therefore found in those areas where people live and at times located on the roofs of houses. However, radio base stations produce some exposure to radio frequency electromagnetic field, EMF. However, but according to the World Health Organization, there is no current evidence, no empirical evidence to confirm the existence of any health issues from exposure to low-level EMF. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, the ICTA usually performs EMF surveys and measurements when a complaint is received with respect to health hazards resulting from radio frequency emissions of base stations. The measurement is carried out at the premises of the complainant to determine whether the level of EMF exposure is within the permissible limits. Here, the ICTA applies International Commission on Non-Ionizing Radiation Protection framework that limits the extent of exposure. The ICTA, in its evaluation process, applied these guidelines and the ITU recommendations as well. Furthermore, since 2012, the ICTA has also adopted an on-site measurement protocol to evaluate installations that are in place. And out of the 5 complaints that pertain to the health issues, it's good that I point out for the House that 2 comply to the EMF standard, 1 complaint pertained to a location where the tower was not even erected, and 1 tower, though erected, was not yet operational. With regards to the 5th one, and this one is where the question actually emanates from, and I thank the Honourable Member for this question. With regard to the last one, a measurement was carried out in August 2023, and that test revealed that the operator was not compliant with the provisions of the EMF safety standard. The ICTA therefore requested the operator to take remedial actions, which took place a few months later. Therefore, in October 2023, further to another EMF survey and the measurement that was done at the same site, the radio frequency was then found to be within the permissible limits. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I also wish to inform the House that with a view of ensuring that operators comply with relevant international standards with regards to erection of base stations, as far back as 2011, the ICTA issued to the telecommunication operators guidelines, which was termed Deployment of Radio Communication Infrastructure, Technical and Administrative Standard for EMF Safety. And that was for the purpose of ensuring that people are not exposed to unnecessary waves. The result of these evaluations are compared with safety standards that are recognized by the World Health Organization. As at today, the said guidelines are still in force and 1,116 base stations have been verified. The ICTA is equipped with appropriate measuring equipment, and with a view to improving its evaluation capabilities, the ICTA will be investing in further equipment. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I therefore take it that the survey mentioned by the Honourable Minister is already being carried out. Thank you.
Member. Honourable Member. Yes, okay.
By the Honourable Member, and thank you.
Thank you, Minister, for this answer. Will the Minister consider, or whether the ICTA consider, to positively publish the surveys carried so far?
Honourable Member, thank you for the supplementary question. The ICTA is managed by an independent board. However, I will take the suggestion to the board. Thank you.
Yes, you have got a question.
Deputy Speaker, sir, can the Honourable Minister inform the House whether tests could be carried out at planned regular intervals to ensure the safety and health of the inhabitants, especially as you have mentioned, they are exposed to EMF, electromagnetic field? Thank you.
Thank you for this supplementary question, Honourable Member. As I mentioned, the ICTA is managed by an independent board. However, because it is an issue that pertains to public safety, I will take the message to the chairperson of the board.
Thank you. Next question, the Honourable First Member for Lakavian Felix.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. B506, please.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I'm informed by the Road Development Authority that the footpath and drains along the road at Renal and Castell, which were constructed in the 1980s, are presently in a precarious state. To remedy the situation, the RDA is proceeding with the rehabilitation of the footpath along the affected stretches. As regards part A of the question, I'm informed that the works have been entrusted to General Construction Limited under RDA's Framework Agreement for Road Maintenance and Minor Works 2023-2026. In regard to part B of the question, I am informed that the scope of work comprises the following. First, demolition of old footpath and casting of new footpath and drainage slabs along approximately 250 meters at localized stretches on the left-hand side of the 810 road from Engen Petrol Station at Renal towards Castell Petrol Station. And second, demolition of old footpath and casting of new footpath and drainage slabs on the right-hand side of the 810 road from the junction Alley-Briand Road B74 towards Azari-Singh Road over a stretch of approximately 300 meters. Third, cleaning of drains. Fourth, repair to drain abutment walls. And fifth, provision of concrete curbs, gullies, and metal gratings. The works are being implemented under two separate works orders for the sum of 3.6 million and 4.3 million, inclusive of VAT, for the respective works along the left-hand side and right-hand side. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, regarding part C of the question, I'm informed that for works on the left-hand side, the progress is about 25%, and the works will be completed by June 2025. As regards works on the right-hand side, same have been scheduled to start by end of May 2025, so as to minimize disruption to traffic and pedestrian, given the ongoing works along the other side of the road. The works are expected to be completed by July 2025.
The next question, Honourable First Member for Lakabete.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. B507, please.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House regarding the factual financial situation of the Municipal Council of Aqua Phoenix with specific reference to the current budget deficit, the status of the pension fund for council employees, and the underlying reasons for these deficits. With regard to Part A of the question, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, for the financial year 2024-2025, the Municipal Council of Aqua Phoenix submitted an estimated expenditure of 598.6 million rupees to the Ministry of Finance. The budget estimate was based on the following three financial components. Firstly, an expected internal revenue of 84.5 million rupees. Secondly, anticipated efficiency gain of 65 million rupees. And last, requested granting aid of 449 million rupees from the Ministry of Finance. While the full granting aid was approved by the Ministry of Finance, it is regrettable to note that the projected efficiency gain, as estimated by the Ministry, did not materialize. Furthermore, the actual internal revenue collected by the Council amounted to 75.7 million rupees, regarding a 7% decrease compared to the previous year. This shortfall is mainly due to the overestimated revenue forecast by the Ministry of Finance. Following the mid-term budget review conducted by my ministry, as it is for all local authorities, it was confirmed that total actual expenditure has now increased to 664 million rupees, representing an increase of 18% compared to the previous financial year. Consequently, a revised budget deficit now stands at 139.2 million rupees. The main factors contributing to this budget deficit include the payment of the 14 months salary as legally required, salary increase due to the implementation of revised wage relativity structure and national minimum wage policy. A general increase in the cost of goods and services due to inflation, and last, the unbudgeted recruitment of 63 additional workers in September-October 2024, comprising 17 general workers, 16 handy workers, and 30 refuse collectors. It is to be noted that while the Ministry of Finance granted clearance for these recruitments in December 2024, no additional financial support was provided. The Council was instructed to absorb the resulting expenditure through the anticipated efficiency gain, which, as stated, failed to materialize. Now, concerning Part B of the question, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, in addition to the budget deficit, the pension fund for the employees of the Municipal Council, administered by Telecom Limited, is also facing a significant deficit. In accordance with Section 5 of the Statutory Body Pension Fund Act, Telecom Limited carries out actuarial evaluation for the Council Pension Fund at intervals not exceeding 5 years. The latest valuation as of 31st December 2022 and submitted to the Council on 11 August 2023 identified a deficit of 348.3 million rupees. Telecom Limited has informed that the main reasons for this deficit in the pension fund are revised financial assumptions to better reflect anticipated economic and demographic trends. Second, lower investment returns than expected. Third, increase in salary and pension costs over the reviewed period. And fourth, the failure to implement earlier recommendations for timely cash injections into the fund has significantly contributed to the worsening of the deficit. To address the shortfall, the Telecom Limited has recommended the Council should increase the pension contribution rate to 24.05% and to undertake one of the following structured cash injection plan, either A, 5 annual installments of 81.6 million rupees, or 7 annual installments of 61.3 million rupees, or 10 annual installments of 46.2 million rupees. In alignment with these recommendations, the Council has effectively increased its contribution rate to 24.05% as from November 2023. Furthermore, a formal request was addressed to the Ministry of Finance on 12 October 2023, seeking the support for the necessary cash injection. Regrettably, no response has been received to date. Now, part 3 of the question, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. This situation is not isolated to the Municipal Council of Vakwa Phoenix only. Similar pension fund deficit and financial constraints are being experienced across all the 12 municipal and district councils. These structural financial challenges are the direct result of poor planning and mismanagement by the previous government, which diverted significant national resources amounting to several billions of rupees to the Mauritius Investment Corporation, that is the MIC, while failing to allocate sufficient funds to local authorities and the statutory obligations. As a result, local authorities have been placed in a financial vulnerable position and are increasingly unable to fulfill their core mandate of delivering essential public services to the citizens.
Next question, again in the absence of Honorable Tanu, the question will be circulated as a written answer. So B, the Honorable Third Member for Mayberg, Penmayon.
B509, please.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I'm informed that presently no contract has been awarded for renovation works at the Arilatu Stadium. However, the staff of the Mauritius Sport Council is actually undertaking minor works such as the fabrication of 3 metal gates. The Council is also considering upgrading of the fencing at the stadium, and some other works is going to take place at the next financial year.
Yes, honourable members, the table has been advised that the following PQs have been withdrawn: B511, B519, B516, and B524. So the next question, Honourable Fourth Member for Holding.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, B510.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I am informed by the Metro Express Limited that the light rail vehicles, LRV for short, have been designed as per international norms and standards with respect to onboard security and safety. All LRVs are fitted with anti-slip rubber flooring, which complies to the European standard DIN 51130, classifying anti-slip properties of floor coverings in wet conditions. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I am further informed that since the start of its operation, Metro Express Limited has not received any complaints, nor any incidents have been reported with respect to slipping on wet floors on board the LRVs. Nevertheless, as part of its daily safety and security protocols, several measures have been put in place by Belle to enhance the safety of passengers on board of the LRVs, such as regular announcements for passengers to be cautious when it's raining and to hold on to the handrail, and frequent mopping of all the LRVs at terminal station during rainfall. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, in addition, any spillage on or wet floor condition on board the LRVs are properly cleaned and dried by the cleaning service provider, and regular cleaning is carried out throughout the operating hours as and when required to maintain the safe and secure environment for passengers.
Yes, one question.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I have myself witnessed a case where young women slipped on the wet floor last Wednesday. And I'd like to ask the Minister if he will consider to look at places where there is no shelter. It was raining last Wednesday, and there are places where no shelter. people get in with their wet umbrellas, so the floor was wet all through, and several persons slipped. I don't know if it's really non-skid, but people slipped, and one woman was injured and had to report to hospital.
Was it inside the train or outside?
Inside.
Because what I'm told here is it is anti-skid. So, but then, like I said, it was not reported. So the male people may not necessarily be aware of it. But I will ask them to look into it. Because what I have here, it is anti-skid according to European standard DIN 55130, which is not supposed to occur because it is rubber-based. So I'm a bit
You will look into the matter.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And at places where there's no shelter, like Place d'Armes, so people are waiting in the rain, so that
we'll look into it.
Thank you. The Honourable Third Member for Galway-Pouledo. No, sorry.
512.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I am informed by the Road Development Authority that in the context of the construction of new roads, an exemption as provided in the sections 18 and 28 and Part B and Part C of the 5th Schedule of the Environment Protection Act 2002 is usually solicited as the project satisfies the two criteria set out under the Act, namely that the project is required in the national interest and for the economic development of Mauritius. Accordingly, the RDA proceeds as follows. A preliminary identification for environmental implications is carried out during the concept stage. B, during project development, the scope of works is sent to the Ministry of Environment, Solid Waste Management and Climate Change for advice or request for exemption. C, if no EIA is required, an environmental protection management plan is still prepared by contractor at construction stage. D, if an EIA is required, the RDA applies for an exemption under the EPA. If so required, the EIA is prepared and submitted to the Director of Environment for the due process. E, the RDA seeks the necessary authorizations from the relevant authorities prior to implementation and complies with the list of conditions imposed. And F, management and monitoring plans are submitted to the Director of Environment. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I am informed by the RDA that from 2019 to 2024, it has implemented some 38 major road projects. According to the RDA, 30 projects did not warrant an EIA in line with the 5th Schedule of the Environment Protection Act 2002, and 8 projects were EIA exempted by the Ministry of Environment, Solid Waste Management and Climate Change. These projects are, first, Cap Malere Bypass, second, construction of A1, A3 Link Road, third, reconstruction of Jumbo Phoenix Roundabout, fourth, construction of Verde Bypass, fifth, La Vigie, La Brasserie Beauchons Link Road, 6, A1 M1 Bridge, 7, flood mitigation measures at Anse-Zoncé, and lastly, interchange construction and improvements along M3, A14 corridor at Eben. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, regarding the construction of the flyover on motorway M1 at La Vigie, which forms part of the broader La Vigie-La Brasserie Beauchons Link Road project, an EIA exempt undertaking was obtained from the Ministry of Environment, Solid Waste Management and Climate Change on 10 July 2018. Following a new government policy aimed at replacing roundabouts on motorways by flyovers to improve traffic flow, the proposed roundabout at La Vigie was substituted with a flyover. According to the RDA, this modification in design did not necessitate a new EIA exemption, and the existing exempt undertaking was applicable. Nonetheless, an EIA report was prepared by the contractor and submitted to the Ministry of Environment, Solid Waste Management and Climate Change only on 10 April 2025 for review. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I'm informed by the Ministry of Environment, Solid Waste Management and Climate Change that in view of the fact that the construction of the flyover at La Vigie required clearing of part of a forest, and EIA was in fact required as stipulated under item 10, conversion of forest land to any other land use under the 6th schedule part B of the Environment Act 2024. Similar discrepancies have also been reported by the Ministry of Environment, Solid Waste Management and Climate Change in respect of other projects such as construction of the Flic-en-Flac bypass. In view of the conflicting reports and the seriousness of the matter, I personally requested the RDA to unreservedly consult the Ministry of Environment, Solid Waste Management and Climate Change prior to undertaking any major road project. Any exemption, if applicable, should be obtained prior to the commencement of works in line with the provisions of the law. On the other hand, if an EIA is warranted, the RDA shall do needful as directed by the Ministry of Environment, Solid Waste Management and Climate Change. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I wish to reassure the House that under this government, our pursuit for a modern and state-of-the-art road infrastructure will not be at the cost of the environment.
Thank you.
The next question, the Honourable Third Member for Mayback.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, B513, please.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, the Taxi Operators Welfare Fund was established on 11th June 2021 by an Act of Parliament following several requests made by the taxi operators for such a fund which could promote the advancement and welfare of taxi operators and their family, I am informed. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, with regard to part A of the question, I am further informed that as at date, out of the 7,249 taxi operators, 6,125 have already registered with the fund, and the amount collected stands at 47,551,000 rupees. I must point out that although the fund came into operation in June 2021, payment of contributions was made effective only as from March 2022. The expenses incurred as at date by the fund since its implementation amount to 6,238,000 rupees, 208.32 cents. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, as to part B of the question, every holder of a taxi license other than the holder of a taxi license who employs a full-time taxi driver to operate his taxi, his or her taxi, and a full-time driver shall, on commencement of this Act, be deemed to be registered with the fund as a taxi operator and make a monthly contribution of 300 rupees to the fund in accordance with Section 11 and Section 12 of the Taxi Operators Welfare Fund Act. According to Section 26 of the TOF, TWF, the Taxi Operator Welfare Fund Act, the NLTA shall not renew a public service license, service vehicle license, in case a taxi operator fails to pay the one-off entrance fee of 200 rupees or the annual contribution to the TOF, as the case may be. As regards part B of the question, I must point out that the proposal put forward by the Honourable Member may have various implications which need to be carefully examined. At this point in time, no amendment is being envisaged in this respect. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, as to part C of the question, I am informed that a medical grant program has been designed to provide financial assistance for medical expenses. The taxi operator would need to have a valid public service license and present a medical certificate from a national hospital or a registered clinic certifying that the taxi operator will be unfit for duty for at least 2 weeks. In addition, the taxi operator would need to be compliant with the fund and should not have benefited from the same scheme within 5 years. Furthermore, I am informed that the taxi operator is eligible to a daily subsistence of 389 rupees, up to a limit of 12,075 rupees per month for a maximum of 3 months to cater for medical expenses. As at date, 74 taxi operators have benefited from the medical grant program to the tune of 1,793,409 rupees. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, the Honourable Third Member for Grand Bay-Poudlou.
514, please. Thank you. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I'm informed that there is no database or record being kept at the level of my ministry regarding workers who left or are leaving the country. Brain drain is usually driven by economic factors such as better job prospect, higher wages, and the desire for a better standard of living. However, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, the world is now a global village, and with the ease of movement of people, there is a fierce competition for talents. So instead of brain drain, there is rather an exchange of skills across countries through both inward and outward migration. While Mauritians move abroad for better prospect, we are likewise benefiting from the services of skilled, professional, and unskilled foreign workers who are contributing to the development of the country. It should be acknowledged that the movement of workers can be beneficial through remittance of foreign currency and enhanced skills and global experience when the worker returns to the home country. However, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, we have a duty to ensure that our citizens do find suitable, productive employment locally and do not feel compelled or pressurized to leave the country to fend for their families. In this perspective, it is important to have a concerted effort by all stakeholders, including the Ministry of Education and Human Resources, the Ministry of Tertiary Education, and my ministry. As far as my ministry is concerned, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, the following measures are being implemented to promote employment in the country and retain local talents. First, reskilling and training programs for the unemployed in collaboration with educational and training institutions, as well as the business community, to facilitate the employment of youth, women, and to address the needs of the labour market. Secondly, the job preferences of unemployed youth are being assessed so that the necessary employability enhancement program may be offered to them to meet their aspiration. Thirdly, we are reviewing the legislations to ensure the best interests of workers and promote fairness and equal opportunities. And fourthly, we are working on the improvement of the salary structure and provisions of better working conditions.
Okay, the next question, the Honourable Second Member for Grand Bay-Poudlou.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, sir. B515.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I thank the Honourable Member for the question. I am informed by the Mauritius Post Limited that as at 30th of June 2024, accumulated losses stood at 1.5 billion rupees and pension deficit at almost 2.6 billion rupees. Moreover, the latest internal audit report has indicated that more than 60 post offices are making losses. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, in regard to the measures being envisaged to redress its financial situation, the Ministry of Finance had, on the 3rd of March 2025, requested that Mauritius Post submits a turnaround plan. The said plan has been approved on April 21, 2025, and by the current board of directors of Mauritius Post. Same is now at discussion stage with the Ministry of Finance. Since the turnaround plan is under discussion, it would not be appropriate that I disclose the contents thereof. However, I can mention key pillars of the plan. It targets review of the business model, inter alia leveraging digital technology, generating new revenue streams for growth, a HR restructuring plan with fairness in posting at heart, and cost efficiency in operations. It should be noted that the MSM administration used posting of post office as a sword of Damocles on the heads of people. Otherwise, there would be punitive transfer, and same was executed in many cases. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I will now, with your permission, quickly give details of the factors that have contributed to the downfall of Mauritius Post Limited. Staff costs represent 83.29% of the total cost of Mauritius Post. And there has been, notwithstanding its financial loss since 2020, 236 additional recruitments made. And this was done without any business plan review, which implies that 25% workforce was added without even understanding whether the current workforce was adequate or not to deliver services. There is also severe competition, obviously, from other companies, and there has been an ascendance of emails over letters. But the Mauritius Post did not adapt itself to the disruption in the industry. Further, there have been malpractices that have accelerated the degeneration of the financial situation of Mauritius Post. A case in point is a loss of 600,000 rupees, a theft of 600,000 rupees by a subcontractor named ProGuard, and that money has not yet been recovered. And the same company, as mentioned, bags an abusive contract of 1.2 million rupees per month, for even when services aren't delivered. That was actually mentioned. So there have been abuses in terms of the tendering process and nugatory expenditure. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, while all this was happening, the ex-minister was still busy identifying new spots for new post offices to be established. Again, without an assessment of the current level of the number of post offices and the services. So this led to dissatisfaction of customers and employees. A full revamping of the situation, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, is therefore imperative, and I'm sure the new board, as appointed, will do needful. Thank you.
Thank you. You have one supplement? Yes.
Can the Honourable Minister inform the House whether proper tendering practices have been followed as per public sector procurement guidelines or those approved by the board with respect to telecommunication services that Mauritius Post Limited uses?
Thank you, Honourable Member, for the supplementary question. There have been cases where the practices are a little bit grey, in the sense that once a tender is approved, there have been changes even in the supplier, or there has been a split of the contract after allocation of the contract. And this has been done by the Finance Department. Therefore, the board, once appointed, they will look into this matter and actions will be taken where they need to be taken. Thank you.
With regard to B517, Honorable Jival is not in the House, so we'll have it as a written answer. Next question, the Honorable Second Member for Belle.
Merci, Monsieur le Vice-président. B518.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, with regard to the question on fencing and lighting facilities at Junarain Children Playground, I wish to inform the House as follows. The existing chain-link fencing was dismantled in November 2024 due to severe rusting. The Municipal Council of Katbon has approved the replacement with a more secure fencing fence. Installation works, including new poles and repainting of the boundary wall, are already ongoing and are expected to be completed by the end of May or early next month, 2025. As for lighting, no prior provision had been made. However, following a formal request from my ministry, the Council is considering the installation of 2 lighting points after the approval at its next meeting. These lighting works are also planned to be completed by early June 2025. The total estimate cost for fencing, wall repainting and lighting is approximately 160,000 rupees. My ministry is closely monitoring the project to ensure timely completion.
Yes, Honorable Ortiz.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Vice-président. Would the Minister inform the House what immediate safety measures have been taken while fencing and lighting works are pending, and which contractor has been assigned to carry out these works? Thank you.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, to ensure children's safety during the fencing and lighting works, the Municipal Council Welfare Department conducts regular site inspection to maintain the safety and the cleanliness. And while the maintenance work are being carried out by the council own in-house, and no external contractor has been appointed.
Last one.
Last one. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Would the Minister inform the House when was the Giunaren Children Playground inaugurated, and why were lighting facilities not installed at that time to ensure the safety of the children using the space? Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, the Giunaren Children Playground was inaugurated in 2016. And at that time, no lighting facilities were installed, and for 9 years, no action was taken to address this safety concern. This shows a lack of planning and attention to safety standards by the previous government. In contrast, my ministry has now formally requested the installation of lighting, and the Municipal Council is actively considering adding 2 lighting points to ensure the safety and security of the children and the family using the playground.
I'm sure that your council will look into it as a priority. The next question, Honourable Third Member for Popular Voices, Trioni.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, B 520.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I will seek your indulgence and that of the House because the reply is rather lengthy. Mr. Deputy Speaker, the European Union has, under its Global Climate Change Alliance Plus flagship initiative, entitled Supportive Climate Smart Agriculture, funded 2.4 million, approximately 120 million rupees, for the period 2016-2020 to support climate smart agriculture in Mauritius. The projects aim at increasing the resilience of smallholders to climate change by improving the capacity towards developing and sustaining climate-smart agriculture practices. The project was broken down into 4 grant contract actions to be implemented by the different institutions, namely A, the University of Mauritius for the transformation of Belle into a climate-smart agriculture village for climate resilience, food security, and poverty alleviation of its farmers. The project basically used a research approach to transform Belle coastal area with high production of onion, tomato, and other cash crops on sandy soil into a climate-smart agriculture village with innovative techniques of irrigation to be adopted to address water shortage at the cost of 301,695 euros. B, the Mauritius Chamber of Agriculture for the transition towards agroecological climate-resilient food cropping systems in Mauritius, a research-based project which involved networking of vegetable growers, diagnosis of current cropping systems, innovation tracking, theoretical formalization of agroecological systems, implementation of redesigning systems, and assessment and knowledge dissemination at a cost of 310 euros. C, the Commission of Social Security, Rodrigues Regional Assembly, for the adaptation of smallholder farmers to climate change in Rodrigues, with the setting up of integrated organic chili farm at Montagne du Sable and a lime and honey farm at Anse Ali at the cost of 1 million euros. The goals of this project in Rodrigues were inter alia to train 443 beneficiaries on sustainable agricultural and management practices under climate-smart agriculture guidelines, rehabilitate 10 hectares of land at Montagne du Sable and 3.25 hectares at Anse Alley through terracing, ploughing, and fencing. The project also involved the establishment of plant nurseries, pastures, agroforestry, and compost pads at the site, setting up rainwater harvesting structures, storage tanks and drip irrigation system, and purchased beehives, small ruminants, lime and chili plantlets for the beneficiaries. D, the irrigation project for improving resilience of smallholders to the effect of climate change with the adoption of new irrigation techniques in the driest part of the northern region of Mauritius at the cost of €565,870 euro. The project consists mainly of procurement of 4 double-cab vehicles for effective implementation of field activities, appointment of a consultant, expert in climate change, expertise in agriculture to implement the actions defined under the project. I was told that the services of the consultant were not enlisted as it was not needed. 3, implementation of resilience irrigation infrastructure on existing free drip irrigation project and sheltered farming, rain harvesting as a pilot project. 4, capacity building of the irrigation authority technician and smallholders covering climate change and its impact on agriculture, understanding weather patterns and the impact on farming, climate change adaptation strategies, and climate-smart agriculture practices, and advantages or disadvantages of swapping to sheltered farming. Mr. Deputy Speaker, with regard to Part B of the question, the University of Mauritius has achieved the following. Over 300 planters have been sensitized about climate change and climate-smart agriculture practices through face-to-face training session, in-situ demonstration, and provisions of a simple, easy-to-understand booklet in Creole and English and video on the CSA practices, climate-smart agriculture. The project also developed a document entitled Creating an Enabling Environment for Climate-Smart Agriculture in Mauritius, which included a training booklet and a video on climate-smart agriculture for small vegetable growers. Now, if the above is implemented at national level, the enabling environment that would thus be created would contribute considerably in encouraging a large number of vegetable planters in the Republic of Mauritius to adopt climate-smart agriculture. Official figures on sales of pesticides and fertilizers to planters obtained from the Mauritius Agriculture and Marketing Cooperative Federation from the start of the project till its completion showed a steady reduction in the amount of fertilizers, ranging from decrease of 55 to 100% for different fertilizers and synthetic pesticides, ranging from 46 to 62% for the different products, and an increase by 247% in the amount of biofertilizer and bioproducts demanded by the planters from Belle and neighboring areas as a direct result of the project. Of course, due to constant monitoring by the European Union also. Now, with regard to the project implemented by the Chamber of Agriculture, I'm informed that 7.5 million rupees of various equipment has been provided to producers to help them in this transition, and training and accompanying measures have been provided to 150 trainers with regard to the reduction in pesticide use. Successful networking of planters were created for various strategies to be adopted, such as mulching, beneficial plants, composting, sanitation, push-pull techniques, and equipment like shredders, insect nets, and weeders were tested at the monitored farm. Field visits and frequent meetings were organized to promote the exchange of experiences. The record books of the farmers help produce useful economic and technical references for sharing experiences. The economic performance of 29 vegetable growers, Total and marketed yields, cost of seeds, pesticide, fertilizers, labor wages, fuel costs and sale prices, from marketing gardening systems with sustainable practices was evaluated. The main results was a 57 average reduction in total fungicide, herbicide and insecticide input across 7 crops, with insecticides decreasing by 78% on cabbage and herbicide being reduced by 90% on pumpkin. Regarding the project implemented on the Rodrigue Regional Assembly, I'm informed that the following has been achieved. Infrastructure has been realized. Well, of course, I mean irrigation, which is quite stable, and the processing house has been realized in 2022-2023, but some still has to be finalized as drip irrigation. Rain harvesting basins for irrigation have also been installed. Furthermore, various outcomes have been obtained. The production of honey and lime trees at Ans Ali, which started around December 2023. The production of vegetable and sheep started at Montagne du Sable in January 24. The training of beneficiaries in climate-smart agriculture practices have been completed. Now, Mr. Deputy Speaker, in terms of output, substantial investment have been made in the realization of projects for to farm, where 43% from vulnerable households obtain training to produce and acquire income. The main infrastructure includes, amongst others, access road, fencing, rainwater, harvesting structures, storage tank, and some drip irrigation setup. Besides, goat pens have been constructed at Montagne du Sable and 30 beehives set up at Ans Ali, including processing equipment. The Rodrigue project has promoted several concrete examples of climate-smart agriculture practices. These include agroforestry for planting of trees as wind breaks, and the aim is to plant 2 hectares of trees to set up an agroforestry with farm over 2 hectares at Ans Ali and integrate lime cultivation with forest trees. Other practices include crop diversification, drip irrigation for water use efficiency and rainwater harvesting, together with composting of crop revenue and sheep dung for green manure. Mr. Deputy Speaker, regarding the project implemented by Irrigation Authority, which falls under the purview of the Minister of Agro-Industry, it was co-financed by the European Union, which contributed up to 80% of the funding, amounting to Euro 568,870. That is approximately 28 million, and the remaining 20%, that is approximately 7 million, by the government. I'm informed by the Irrigation Authority that except for component on sheltered farming, the other components were successfully implemented. The reason for same was due to a successful procurement exercise on 4 occasions, whereby on each occasion the price quoted by bidders was far above the cost estimate specified by EU in its contract, which could not be changed. This resulted in the board of the IE deciding that this component be shared, and this amount to 146,500 euros. That amount, of course, was not used. Furthermore, the EU recommended that no consultancy services be sought, given the unique experience of the IE and its technician. The consultancy was therefore done in-house, and the respective funds was reallocated for the purchase of equipment. After the completion of the project in September 2023, an amount of approximately 207,000 euro, which includes the amount mentioned earlier for sheltered farming component, and euro 60,500 from savings made on the other components, were refunded to the EU on September 2024. Mr. Deputy Speaker, comprehensive impact assessment analysis was conducted by Irrigation Authority, which demonstrated that the EU-funded project yielded a multitude of significant benefits. Mr. Deputy Speaker, as part C of the question, I'm informed that the EU prepared an evaluation report after consultation with stakeholders, The main purpose of the evaluation is to present findings, conclusion, lessons learned, and recommendation of external and independent evaluation of the Global Climate Change Plus as implemented. The evaluation report's main aim is to inform the government of Mauritius, the project implementing agencies, and the EU delegation in Port-Louis about our achievements, but also shortcomings from the project implemented. The IE has implemented a monitoring and evaluation framework as required by EU to assess the impact of this project. Mr. Deputy Speaker, since January, the Ministry is placing a high premium on stakeholder engagement. Feedback is actively being solicited and incorporated into impact assessment through regular meetings and consultation with planters and the cooperative society. This participatory approach ensures that the project accounts are aligned with the needs and priorities of planters. Furthermore, the Ministry is having consultations in the light of the next budget, and measures are being identified to tackle concern of small planters to address the issue affecting the crop, sugar, livestock production in Mauritius.
Thank you. Thank you, Honourable Minister, for your long and comprehensive answer. Let me remind you that you have another statement to make in a few minutes. Yes, time is over. The table has been advised that B 527, 526, and 460 has been withdrawn. Honourable Prime Minister.
Motion.
Yes, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I beg to move that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2, standing order 10.
Seconded. Question is that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of standing order 10. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it.
Statements by ministers.
Honourable Belle.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. With your permission, I wish to make a statement with regards to the Belle Sugar State. Belle Sugar State was set up in 1973 for an act of Parliament following the acquisition of the state from Garthwaite and Oz for the sum of 18 million rupees. This institution has since been actively present in numerous sectors of the economy, namely sugar, food crops, livestock, and energy production. Belle Sugar State is today in a situation of financial distress, with all the leading indicators in the red. The last 10 years has seen Belle Sugar State evolve from a state with more than 6,100 APA under cultivation to approximately 1,200 APA in 2024. Other auxiliary clusters, such as crop and livestock, have become extinct. The revenue stream, including of cash flow, have grown into highly negative pools and thus creating indebtedness. The last decade has seen a palette of mismanagement, fraudulent practices, including defrauding of public funds. The Belle Sugar State Board has failed in its fiduciary duty to safeguard, preserve, and grow the assets of the company. Illegal and suspicious transactions are present in almost all segments of the business with low accountability. The state is currently generating more than 70 million rupees of annual loss, with an accumulated debt level estimated at 1.2 billion rupees. The operating cash flow is consistently negative and unsustainable when it comes to servicing its operating expenses, which stand at approximately 177 million rupees annually. The revenue streams have been on a downward trend with various inconsistencies and unjustified expenses. Belle Sugar State is in a dire financial posture and is today insolvent following a decade of fraudulent mismanagement, coupled with irresponsible ventures and projects. The attributes of this overwhelming state of affairs can be summarized as follows. Sugar cultivation in 2014 was in excess of 4,500 ARPA, while in 2024, this extent was reduced to 1,200 ARPA. The rest of the land bank is today abundant and generates only 25 million rupees compared to more than 100 million rupees in 2014. Meanwhile, expenses have suspiciously increased from 44 million in 2014 to more than 180 million rupees in 2024. This is mostly attributable to increasing staff costs and bonuses at a time when operations and revenue were decreasing at an increasing rate. Staff costs today make up more than 80% of income generated. This is against good management practices and should have been flagged by auditors. Other expenses, including inter alia, supplies and services, fertilizers and herbicide, where after a thorough audit, it appears that Belle Sugar Estate had been purchasing supplies for 3,000 acre ARPA when they were cultivating only 1,200 ARPA, illustrating clear defrauding of Belle Sugar Estate funds and mismanagement. Since 2018, there has been no proper accounts prepared in line with international financial reporting standards. This illustrates a clear breach of fiduciary duties from the previous Board of Directors and failure under Financial Reporting Act 2004 and Companies Act 2001, respectively. The insolvency of the state should have been flagged a while ago, as the current asset of the company clearly underscore its current liabilities, that is 169 million rupees assets versus 550 million of liabilities in 2024. Overdraft have been employed to service current liabilities and top 1.2 billion rupees in 2022. Assets have therefore been sold to avoid bankruptcy. Disposal of assets, inter alia, land, and other equipment have been made without proper framework or feasibility matrices. No benchmark or evaluation have been employed to dispose land under various projects, such as Morcellement or joint venture, which crystallize huge losses to the state. For instance, 1/2 of land at Belle has been sold in 2023 at 13,000 rupees, whilst the benchmark of the regional cadastre stands at 25,000 rupees to 30,000 rupees per twice. This represents an opportunity cost of around 70% of the normal revenue curve. This again demonstrates deliberate frauding of the funds of Belle Sugar Estate. Related party transaction, that is, directors and other parties, have acquired various assets directly or indirectly through land reservation. This is against good governance. Commercial land leases have been conducted at an understated rate, approximately 80% discount to the market benchmark, and is today full of accumulated arrears. This represents around 97 million rupees of undermined income. No legal action has been initiated against the usual suspect. Suspicions of officers of Belle Sugar Estate and tenants acting in concert are factual. Tenants such as Vieux Moulin and Plaisance Mall are in arrears by more than 15 million rupees without any action. Sale of more than 1,000 ARPA and the Morcellement and other projects have been conducted fraudulently. Salary increases have been effected without clear rationale and framework. Belle Sugar Estate has been operating without professional human capital, but rather with irresponsible and ill-minded management and board of directors. Debtors add up to around 75 million, with an average age of 4 years, while creditors amount to the tune of 58 million rupees. Belle Sugar Estate has lately engaged itself in numerous ventures with Gibraltar Group, which is a loss-making and has vested land to the latter at under par rates to the detriment of the state. They have even sold their head office, land and building to the same company at negligible prices. These ventures, together with relevant practices, have put Belle Sugar Estate in a minority position and eventually without any control of its prime land. An investigation is warranted here. The debt accumulated over the past 10 years are very likely to be classified as non-performing loan by State Bank Mauritius Limited, given the irregular service path. Their liabilities are close to being classified as stage 3 default, implying imminent seizure proceedings. Again, we're exposed to an irresponsible board of directors. The same board of directors did not produce and validate any account for Belle Sugar Estate for at least 7 years. This shows bad faith and non-accountability to shareholders that is government made. Asset management practices, including but not limited to land, have been conducted without clear mandates, benchmark, ring fencing, and targets. This has facilitated corruption and destruction of value purposes. And the Bourg-Selma project, lotissement Belle 60 Harper, clearly shows highly overstated costs of 350 million rupees versus 600 million rupees of expected income. This is also a succinct indication of cost majoration without adequate tender processes. The cost to income stands at more than 50%, totally out of normal Bourg-Selma infrastructure rates and other costs. This is highly suspicious and again welcome a full investigation. Mr. Deputy Speaker, the above state of affairs demonstrate that Belle Sugar Estate is on the verge of an economic collapse, infested with mismanagement, practices, fraudulent acts, and ill-mindedness that led to defrauding of funds. The asset value of Belle Sugar Estate has fallen by more than 70% in the last 10 years and set doubts on long-term sustainability of the growing concern. A proper forensic audit, together with account preparation, is warranted. And I propose to refer the forensic audit to the Financial Crime Commission. Mr. Deputy Speaker, in view of the scarcity of land available to government, Belle Sugar Estate is poised to be an important actor in the Ministry's food security strategy. The latter shall hence be called upon to embark on a replantation scheme to boost cane production, energy generation, and the cultivation of food crops. The Ministry is working on a turnaround strategic mandate 2025-2029 to ensure sustainability, efficiency, and accountability. A paper will be tabled by the end of May 2025. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honourable members, Madam Speaker will take the chair.
Please be seated.
Motion.
Yes, Honorable Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move the following motion standing in my name. This Assembly resolves that the report of the Standing Orders Committee in regard to the amendments to Standing Order 2 and Standing Order 73 of the Standing Orders and Rules of the National Assembly, which was laid on the table of the National Assembly on the 6th of May 2025, be approved, and that the amendments contained therein come into operation forthwith.
The motion must be seconded. Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Prime Minister. Yes, the question is that this Assembly resolves that the report of the Standing Orders Committee in regard to the amendments to Standing Order 2 and Standing Order 73 of the Standing Orders and Rules of the National Assembly, 1995, which was laid on the table of the National Assembly on 6 May 2025, be approved, and that the amendments contained therein come into operation forthwith. Those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it.
Public bills, second reading.
Yes, Honourable Attorney General, welcome.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, I move that the Constitution Amendment Bill number 10 of 2025 and the Criminal Code Amendment Bill number 11 of 2025 be read together a second time. Madam Speaker, the Constitution Amendment Bill fulfills the commitment given by the state before the United Nations Committee Against Torture, but above all, it upholds the democratic values which this government wants to restore, strengthen, and extend. The bill seeks to repeal Section 7, subsection 2 of the Constitution, which currently allows punishments found in laws that were in force in 1964, which punishments may now be considered inhuman or degrading to remain constitutionally valid. Madam Speaker, in its concluding observations on the fourth periodic report of Mauritius, the United Nations Committee Against Torture gave its concern at the lack of express provision in our law prohibiting torture in absolute terms. It recommended that no justification whatsoever should be allowed for acts of torture in accordance with Article 2, subsection 2 of the Convention Against Torture. It also drew attention to the need for other laws, including Section 245 of the Criminal Code, to align with this absolute ban. The committee further emphasized in its general comment, I'm trying to replace my friend Bhagwan here, that state parties are obliged to take legislative and administrative action to reinforce the prohibition against torture and to eliminate any legal obstacles to its eradication. Torture is the subject of a non-derogable prohibition. No state may invoke any circumstance, however exceptional, to justify it. At the fifth periodic review of Mauritius in April of this year, I therefore informed the committee on behalf of our government that Section 7, subsection 2 would be repealed. Today, Madam Speaker, barely a month later, we are giving effect to that promise. Yet another example of the commitment of this government to leave no stone unturned to reach our ultimate goals. Madam Speaker, Section 7 of the Constitution is made up of two provisions, and it bears necessity here to read them out in extenso. Subsection 1 reads, "No person shall be subjected to torture or to inhuman or degrading punishment or other such treatment." However, subsection 2, Madam Speaker, states that nothing contained in or done under the authority of any law shall be held to be inconsistent with this section to the extent that the law in question authorizes the infliction of any description of punishment that was lawful in Mauritius on the 11th of March, 1964. Section 7, subsection 2, thus creates a broad exception to the constitutional protection against inhuman treatment. It immunizes from challenge any law that was in place before independence, even if that law authorized punishments that are unacceptable by today's standards. Moreover, that same subsection 2 of section 7 of the Constitution is often misunderstood as a transitional clause, but its effect is broader and more enduring. It allows such punishments to be reenacted through new laws, which will then remain immune from constitutional scrutiny as long as they mirror what existed prior to independence, 1964. For example, corporal punishments such as flogging or whipping, long abolished in Mauritius, were once lawful under colonial rule. In countries like the Bahamas, such punishments were repealed and later reintroduced without being struck down due to the existence of these quote-unquote saving clauses of similar nature. Madam Speaker, the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council has examined such saving clauses in several cases, such as Pindar in the Bahamas, where a similar clause allowed colonial punishments to be repealed and later reinstated, Watson in Jamaica, Philibert in Mauritius, where colonial laws were given immunity from constitutional scrutiny, and more recently Reyes in Belize, where by contrast the Belize constitution made such law transitional for only 5 years post-independence. But even then, the Privy Council held that when there is no time limit set, the clause is not transitional, and its effects endure indefinitely. But these clauses, Madam Speaker, were only introduced with the intention of ensuring legal certainty and to secure an orderly transfer of power from colonial regimes to independent ones. They were not meant to hinder democratic progress of nations decades after independence. Madam Speaker, the court's task in fulfilling their role is to interpret the Constitution by ensuring that its construction adapts to changing times and that all local laws of the jurisdiction conform with the organic growth of the Constitution. This is the living tree doctrine, as described by the Privy Council in the very old case of Edwards and the Attorney General of Canada. In that case, women were not considered to be persons under the definition of a local act. However, the Privy Council stated that the term persons should be read broadly, and preventing women to become members of the Senate in Canada was, and I quote, a relic of days more barbarous than ours. For the Privy Council, and we agree fully with that proposition, a constitution should thus be capable of growth and expression within its natural limits. Madam Speaker, Section 7, Section 2 remains on our law books. The risk persists that one day Parliament could, not this one of course, but one day Parliament could reintroduce archaic punishments, and that such laws then be shielded from constitutional challenge. We cannot, as a responsible government, allow that. This approach would prevent the interpretation of torture or inhuman or degrading punishment to ever evolve, similar to the definition of persons in Canada under the living tree doctrine. It would be a Damocles sword hanging over our legal order. This view was in fact adopted by the Privy Council recently in the case of Chandler, Trinidad and Tobago case of 2022, where it was again emphasized that the existing laws could not be held unconstitutional, but parliaments were nudged, to use a soft expression, by the Judicial Committee to repeal and amend such laws. Repealing Section 7, subsection 2 of the Constitution, therefore, Madam Speaker, is just not symbolic, it is necessary. I now turn to the Criminal Code Amendment Bill, which accompanies this constitutional reform. This bill revises two provisions, Section 245, which governs the use of force and the lawful authority, and Section 242, which excuses manslaughter upon discovering adultery. First, the repeal of Section 7, subsection 2 of the Constitution requires us to revise Section 245. Its existing language, therefore, no longer aligns with the updated constitutional standard. The new provision ensures that the use of force, including lethal force, remains legally justified, but only under defined conditions, which are A, the defense of persons or property, B, the lawful arrest or the prevention of an escape, C, the suppression of a riot, insurrection or mutiny, and D, the prevention of a criminal offense. This is consistent with international norms, with common law principles, and with the doctrine of proportionality, which is now implied in our Section 7, subsection 1, soon to become Section 7, simpliciter of our Constitution. In other words, even in these justified circumstances listed, A, B, C, and D, force must be used reasonably and cannot amount to inhuman or degraded treatment or torture. Madam Speaker, let us now turn to Section 242. Before I deal with it, let me read in French from the old Code Napoleon what that section says. Le meurtre commis par l'époux sur son conjoint ainsi que sur le complice à l'instant où il les surprend en flagrant délit d'adultère est excusable. You will have noted that the excuse would only apply to the male and not to the female. That provision, as I said, inherited from Article 324 of the old French Penal Code, provides that manslaughter committed by a person upon catching his spouse in the act of adultery is excusable. In effect, and as per French jurisprudence, only a man convicted under these circumstances will get a reduced sentence. France repealed that section in 1975. 50 years on, we are still at it here and having to debate this in Parliament. But hopefully, this will be a thing of the past in a couple of hours. Although Section 242 of the Criminal Code has not been applied in a Mauritian court, it remains on our books and it remains the law of our land. And that in itself presents a legal and a constitutional risk. It offers a blanket excuse for killing based solely on emotional provocation. This excuse lacks any consideration of proportionality, intent, or judicial discretion. And that is problematic for at least three reasons. First, Madam Speaker, it is incompatible with our Constitution. Let us not forget Section 3 guarantees individual rights. Section 16 prohibits discrimination. Section 242, in contrast, is at its core rooted in unequal treatment, where only male violent reaction is deemed excusable. No such provision exists to excuse a woman who would find herself in similar circumstances and kill her spouse. Secondly, it contradicts the general framework of our criminal law, where the notion of provocation is already recognized and considered on a case-to-case basis by our judges and magistrates every day in court. Section 242, therefore, imposes a redundant and rigid rule that bypasses judicial assessment and discretion. Thirdly, Madam Speaker, it is socially harmful. How can anyone look at our younger generations of this country and tell them that in our law there is a provision that could excuse feminicide? What message would we be sending to the country where domestic violence has been left unchecked for years? International bodies have echoed this, Madam Speaker. The United Nations Committee Against Torture in 2017, the Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women in 2018 have both urged a repeal of this section, but nothing was done by the previous government. Madam Speaker, I must stress that today's reform is not being carried out merely to satisfy external recommendations. It is being done because the provision is out of place in our legal system and constitutional principles. Repealing Section 242 simply removes an aberration that should never, never have been preserved. Madam Speaker, these two bills remove provisions that no longer belong in our constitutional order. They reflect our responsibility to update the law, not only and merely to preserve its letter, but to uphold its spirit. There are, of course, more sections of the law, including some in the criminal code, that must also be reviewed in the same spirit. For instance, we are presently working on a bill to update and refine our legal arsenal on sexual offences and to better fulfill not only our international commitments, but also our moral obligations to the women, girls and boys of this country. For today is but one step of many more to come, steps which will include the giant strides that the forthcoming Constitutional Review Commission is expected to make. And step by step, slowly but surely like this, Madam Speaker, we will cross our government's bridge to the future. I commend both bills to the House.
Yes, motion is seconded. Yes, Dr. Belle. Maybe we can carry on with the Honourable Leader of the Opposition for the moment. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I've listened with great care the intervention of the Attorney General. And at the very outset, Madam Speaker, I wish to show support to the Attorney General and the government for repealing, first, Section 7, subsection 2 from our Constitution, and repealing Section 242 from our Criminal Code. Madam Speaker, Mauritius is a state party to the Convention Against Torture and other cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment, which we have acceded to on the 9th of December 1992. Additionally, Madam Speaker, we are also a state party to the optional protocol to the CAT, which was acceded on the 15th of June, on the 21st of June, 2005. This means, Madam Speaker, that Mauritius is committed to preventing torture and other cruel, inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment, both domestically and internationally. Madam Speaker, as the House is aware, the National Preventive Mechanism Division was set up under the National Human Rights Commission in 2014, and since June 2015, the National Preventive Mechanism Division investigates complaints which are made by a detainee, and where the detainee so requests, investigate the complaint privately. Madam Speaker, torture under any circumstance is a despicable act and should not be tolerated in modern Mauritius. Moreover, it was high time, Madam Speaker, to settle the debate on manslaughter committed as a result of a spouse caught in the act of adultery. Madam Speaker, I also support modifications being brought to Section 245 of the Criminal Code, where it was stipulated that there is neither crime nor misdemeanor where homicide, wounds, or blows are ordered by law and commanded by lawful authority. This new Section 245, Madam Speaker, now stipulates the following: that there is neither crime nor misdemeanor where homicide is or wounds or blows are committed as a result of the use to such extent and in such circumstances as are permitted by law of such force as is reasonably justifiable, A, for the defense of any person from violence or for the defense of property, B, in order to effect a lawful arrest or to prevent the escape of a person lawfully detained, C, for the purpose of suppressing a riot, insurrection or mutiny, or D, in order to prevent the commission by that person of a criminal offense, or if he dies as a result of a lawful act of war. Madam Speaker, despite the repeals being done today, there remain for me some grey areas. For instance, Section 78 of the Criminal Code, which criminalizes the offense of torture by public official, provides for a penalty of imprisonment for a term not exceeding 10 years and to a fine not exceeding 150,000 rupees. Hence, this is clearly, I believe, not consistent with Article 4.2 of the Convention in relation to the gravity of the offense. Madam Speaker, the second one is with regard to the absence of any provisions in our legislations prohibiting the use of any evidence obtained by torture and other cruel, inhuman, degrading treatment in accordance with Article 15 of the Convention. So as long as there is no such prohibition of the use of evidence obtained by such treatments, the courts will admit such evidence secured by the police and adverse to a suspect's case. Madam Speaker, there are also, I believe, some practical and other challenges. First, a lack of awareness of the prohibition of torture and the contents of the Convention, even though it has been acceded to. There is also the perception that investigating authorities continue to look for confessions by any means to resolve a criminal investigation, and see the lack or scarcity of other means to solve criminal cases, such as use of scientific and technological means, and lastly, the reluctance to report cases. Now, I mentioned that earlier, Madam Speaker. I do not find any necessity to introduce the term lawful act of war in our criminal code, especially at a time where we should be condemning all acts of war around the world. It is to be stressed that we are a peaceful country and should remain so, and there should not be any justification such as an act of war that should be qualified as lawful, I believe, in our criminal code. Furthermore, Madam Speaker, I can understand that the relevant authorities should be allowed to act if there is a riot, an insurrection, or a mutiny in our country. And, Madam Speaker, not only as the leader of the opposition, but also as a citizen of this country and a patriot, I do not wish to see, I make reference to that, another episode of February 1999 happening again in our country. However, Madam Speaker, should this subsection C have existed back then, for example, would the death of Berger Agat have been justified? Obviously, I'm not a legal person, but I hope the Attorney General provides some clarity on this aspect of the bill. Now, coming to subsection B, I do have some concerns, Madam Speaker, with this part of the bill. Firstly, may I ask, what is a lawful arrest nowadays? Is it an arrest based on probable cause or one based on reasonable suspicion? What kind of arrest would justify the use of force that might lead to a homicide that by virtue of this subsection may not be considered as a crime? Would it not have been more explicit and unambiguous to define the use of force as necessary, proportionate, and reasonable in all circumstances? That is, no more than is necessary, or in other terms, no excessive force. Madam Speaker, we have seen a series of arrests by relevant authorities since the beginning of the mandate of this new government. And by we, I mean, let me finish. And by we, I mean the people. Are we entitled to know where we are going with this kind of addition to our criminal code? Should we as a population be worried, or is this leading us to a situation where we operate where law and justice prevails? What do we do, Madam Speaker, for example, when a detainee or a prisoner escapes? Does this mean this person deserves to die and justifiable under the eyes of the law? And Madam Speaker, you as a legal person, you must know, self-defense is already in our law. Madam Speaker, it is in section 246 of the Criminal Code. But what about defense of property? Are we talking about trespass? So many questions, Madam Speaker, that I believe the Attorney General will clarify in due course. Madam Speaker, I believe that if the government wishes to bring improvements to the present laws, fair enough. I will give my support where the interest of the people lies. However, let us not create loopholes for abuse. Ces amendements, Madame la Présidente, découlent du rapport, comme ça a été dit, de la Commission contre la torture Nations Unies qui date de 2017. Et oui, j'accepte peut-être qu'il fallait se pencher dessus depuis des années, mais cela ne veut pas dire que le régime précédent ne l'a pas considéré. Quand on parle du code criminel et de la constitution d'un pays, il ne faut pas procéder au coup par coup dans ce genre de situation. Ce même rapport, Madame la Présidente, évoque aussi le Police and Criminal Evidence Bill, un projet de loi qui a été longtemps évoqué, mais qui attend toujours de voir le jour. À mon âme, avis, Madame la Présidente, les amendements du jour viennent certes condamner encore plus des cas de torture, mais viennent aussi exonérer l'État dans des cas spécifiques. Where do we draw the line, Madam Speaker, as a sovereign nation? Le rapport parle aussi de beaucoup de manquements dans les enquêtes de la police, par exemple comme celle concernant le décès de M. Ramdoula Ramlagan, décédé en détention policière le 12 janvier 2006. Madam Speaker, I believe, in line with the recommendations of the United Nations, we are taking a firm stand against torture through our Constitution and by replacing Section 242 of the Criminal Code. And at the same time, I believe that we are also tolerating violence in specific cases which might, as I said earlier, create loopholes for any future abuse by the authorities. And I would ask and request government to tread, let's say, with caution by defining the various categories of force, whether physical, restraining equipment, firearms, police dogs, etc., but more importantly, Madam Speaker, by setting the limits of the use of force. Madame la Présidente, nous avons aussi remarqué une dégradation inquiétante de la situation de law and order dans le pays depuis le début de l'année. Le gouvernement et surtout la police doit réagir afin de calmer la situation, mais pourvu qu'il n'y ait pas d'abus. Now, for example, Madam Speaker, to reduce to a minimum the risk of abuse by the authorities during any operation, maybe we should consider the introduction of body cameras for our police officers. This way, Madam Speaker, any arrest, any drug seizure for that matter, is filmed, recorded, and government, I believe, should amend the law so that those images can be used as evidence in court. This way, Madam Speaker, it will be clear in the eyes of the law if there has been unjustified violence or not. We are, Madam Speaker, a peaceful country, and we should leave no stone unturned in our quest to eradicate completely any suspicion of acts of torture on our territory. I'm done, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
I propose we break for half an hour. Thank you.